All right, welcome back to the deep dive where we take these big piles of information and we try to kind of pull out the most important stuff. And today we're diving into the world of Larsen and Toubro, or L&T as most people call them.
Yeah, L&T.
And this is a company that's a major player in India, and we're talking construction, engineering, technology, financial services, like you name it.
Pretty much.
They're probably involved somehow. And we've got a whole stack of their documents. We've got financial statements, press releases, we've got auditor reports. And we're going to try to break down the most important things for you.
Well, what's really interesting here is that they just announced a record-breaking quarter.
Okay, so what exactly made this quarter record-breaking?
Well, their order inflow, it's basically the value of new orders they received.
Yeah.
And it just crossed 1 lakh crore.
Okay.
That's over 1 trillion rupees for the first time ever.
Wow, a trillion with a T. I'm guessing that's a pretty good sign.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It shows very strong confidence in the company's future,
Mm-hmm.
prospects.
Mm-hmm.
It's like investors are lining up to get a piece of L&T because they believe the company's going to keep growing.
So it's essentially a trillion rupee vote of confidence. Okay, and with all these new orders coming in, I mean, their order book must be pretty full, right?
Oh, it's overflowing. Their total order book now stands at a massive 564,223 crore.
Okay.
That's a 19% jump since March 2024. And here's another interesting thing. About 42% of that comes from international projects.
So they're not just a big deal in India, they're kind of making a name for themselves globally.
Exactly.
Okay.
And, their financial performance kind of reflects this global push. So revenue for the quarter surged by 17% year on year, reaching a whopping 64,668 crore. That's over $8 billion in just 3 months.
Wow, that's impressive. But revenue is only part of the story, right? What about their actual profit?
Well, profit after tax also saw a very healthy increase, rising by 14% for the quarter. This shows that they're not just growing, they're doing it in a profitable way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sign of a well-managed and efficient company.
Okay, and you mentioned that global expansion. What I thought was interesting is that over half of L&T's revenue now comes from international projects, 51% to be exact.
Right. That's a key takeaway here. It means that L&T's success isn't tied to any one particular market. They've diversified their operations to tap into demand from all over the world.
So they're not putting all their eggs in one basket?
Precisely.
Okay.
And, when we look at their individual business segments, there's even more reason for optimism. For example, their infrastructure segment secured a major order in the renewable energy sector.
Oh, so they're not just building like bridges and roads, they're getting involved in the future of energy.
Right. This move shows that they're actively positioning themselves for a world that's shifting towards cleaner and more sustainable energy.
Okay, now speaking of different segments, their energy projects division also had a pretty stellar quarter, right?
Oh, yeah.
Driven by a large order in their hydrocarbon business
That's correct.
and their high-tech manufacturing segment. They also got a key order for precision engineering. So it's like they're playing on multiple fields and winning on all of them. They're building traditional infrastructure, they're getting involved in cutting-edge tech, and they're positioning themselves as a leader in the clean energy transition.
Yeah, they're not just reacting to market trends. They're actively shaping them.
Okay.
And speaking of shaping the future, they've also made a strategic investment in a company called E2E Networks.
E2E Networks. Remind me what they do again?
They specialize in cloud computing and artificial intelligence,
Okay.
two of the most rapidly growing areas in technology.
Now that's really interesting. It seems like kind of a big leap from their traditional businesses.
It might seem that way at first, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Every industry, including construction and engineering, is becoming more reliant on data and digital technologies.
Mm-hmm.
L&T is recognizing this and investing accordingly.
So instead of just building the physical structures, they want to also provide like the digital brains behind those structures.
That's a great way to put it. They're kind of evolving from a construction giant into a technology-enabled solutions provider.
And it seems like L&T's chairman, S.N. Subramanian, is pretty pleased with how things are going.
He has every reason to be. He recently said that their success is due to, timely execution of projects,
Yeah.
operational excellence, and a strong customer-centric approach.
That's a classic formula for success in any industry.
Absolutely.
And he's also hinted at some exciting opportunities that are on the horizon.
Yeah. He specifically mentioned infrastructure development, technology advancements, and the global energy transition as areas where L&T is poised to play a major role.
Okay, so it sounds like they have a pretty ambitious vision for the future. All right, so for those who love numbers, let's take a quick peek at some key financial figures. First up, what's their consolidated profit after tax?
For this quarter, it's 3,359 crore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to remember that this is just for one quarter. If you keep this pace up, it translates to over 13,000 crore rupees in profit for the fiscal year.
Wow, that's a healthy chunk of change. What about their EBITDA margin?
Yeah, their EBITDA margin, that gives us a sense of their overall profitability, right?
Right.
So L&T's EBITDA margin for this quarter is 9.7%. To simplify it, for every 100 rupees of revenue they bring in, roughly 9.7 are left over as profit after covering their operating expenses.
Okay, so they're making a decent profit margin, and we'll dive a little bit deeper into the financial performance of their different segments later on.
Now, before we move on, I want to highlight something that should give you even more confidence in these figures. L&T's financial statements have been reviewed by not one, but two major auditing firms, Deloitte and MSKA and Associates.
Oh, okay, and what did those firms have to say?
Well, they gave L&T a clean bill of health. They found no material misstatements in their reports. So that means that you can trust the accuracy and reliability of this financial information. These numbers have been thoroughly checked and verified by independent experts.
That's always good to hear. So far we've covered L&T's record-breaking quarter, their very packed order book, and the strength of their international business. We also talked about the impressive performance of their various segments, their strategic investment in E2E networks, and the positive outlook that's shared by their chairman.
We even delved into some of those key financial figures and talked about the independent audit that kind of validated their numbers. So this gives you a pretty good foundation for understanding L&T's current state.
Okay, so we're painting a pretty good picture of their current state, but the story doesn't end there. What I find really interesting is their push into international markets. Like, it seems like a big part of their growth strategy.
It is, and for good reason.
Hmm.
Tapping into diverse markets not only expands their customer base, but also helps them, weather economic storms. If one region is experiencing a downturn, they can rely on the strength of others.
And it's not just about spreading risk. It speaks volumes about L&T's ability to compete and win on a global stage.
Oh, absolutely. It shows that they have the skills, the expertise, and the resources to deliver really complex projects
Okay.
and meet the demands of international clients.
Now, this move into cloud computing and AI through the E2E Networks acquisition, that's what I find really intriguing. It seems like such a departure from their traditional businesses.
On the surface, it might seem like a leap, but it's actually a very calculated move. Think about it. Almost every industry is becoming, intertwined with data and digital technologies. Construction and infrastructure are no exception.
So instead of just building the physical world, they're now looking to become part of the digital infrastructure that supports it.
Exactly. And that's where the real future lies. The convergence of physical and digital infrastructure is going to create a whole new landscape of opportunities. And L&T is positioning themselves to be a leader.
It's fascinating to see a company with such a long and established history, like kind of adapt and evolve to embrace these new technologies.
It really is. It's a testament to their vision and their willingness to change. They're not resting on their laurels. They're actively looking for ways to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, so we've talked about their global expansion. We've talked about their foray into the digital world. Let's ground ourselves back in the present for a moment and look at those financial figures again. What numbers really jumped out at you?
Well, the consolidated profit after tax, the 3,359 crore, that's definitely impressive, but it's just a snapshot. What's more telling is the consistent growth in order inflow, particularly the international orders. That's a trend that speaks volumes.
Yeah, it paints a picture of a company that's not just surviving. They're thriving.
Right.
They're winning new projects. They're executing efficiently, and they're generating healthy profit.
Precisely. And that consistent performance is what gives investors confidence.
Okay.
They see L&T as a reliable, well-managed company that can deliver.
And of course, the fact that they received a clean bill of health from two reputable auditing firms, I think that adds another layer of confidence.
Absolutely. Those independent audits from Deloitte and MSKA and Associates, They're crucial. They assure investors and stakeholders that L&T is operating with transparency and integrity.
Okay, so we've covered their record-breaking quarter, their bulging order book, their international expansion, even their financial performance, complete with a stamp of approval from independent auditors. So I think our listener has a pretty good grasp of L&T's current position.
They do, but
Yeah.
there's always more to explore.
Mhm.
Let's shift our focus now and consider the broader implications of L&T's success. What does it tell us about the economic landscape, not just in India, but globally?
That's a great question. I mean, L&T is a major player in India, and their success could be a sign of bigger trends that are at play. It's almost like they're a mirror reflecting India's ambitions on a global scale.
That's a really interesting analogy. There's success in sectors like renewable energy and advanced manufacturing. That aligns perfectly with India's push to become a leader in sustainable development and high-tech industries.
It's a sign that India is not content with being just a low-cost manufacturing hub.
Mm.
You know, they're aiming higher, they're competing in areas that demand innovation and expertise, and L&T is kind of leading the charge.
Absolutely, and their global footprint is a testament to that. They're
Yeah.
securing major projects in the Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, showcasing Indian engineering and project management capabilities to the world.
Yeah, it's almost as if they're acting as ambassadors for Indian businesses on the global stage, demonstrating what Indian companies are capable of achieving.
Right, and their success paves the way for other Indian companies to venture out and compete globally.
So L&T's story is not just about, one company's success. It's about the rise of India
Yeah.
as a force to be reckoned with in the global economy.
Yeah, and that raises a really important question. What role will L&T play in shaping India's future?
Right. Will they continue to be this driving force behind infrastructure development, or will they shift their focus more toward these new technology ventures? How will they balance the old with the new?
It's a delicate balancing act. They need to leverage their existing strengths
Yeah.
while simultaneously investing in the technologies and skills needed for the future.
It's a challenge,
Yeah.
but one that L&T seems equipped to handle. I mean, their track record shows they're not afraid to adapt and evolve.
And that adaptability is ultimately what will determine their long-term success.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be big. You got to be nimble, responsive to changing market dynamics,
Yeah.
and willing to embrace new opportunities.
Yeah.
And L&T seems to understand that.
Like the saying goes, the only constant is change, right? And L&T has not only embraced that philosophy, they've turned it into a competitive advantage.
Their recent moves uh, suggest that they're not just keeping pace with change. They're trying to stay one step ahead. They're anticipating future trends,
Yeah.
and they're positioning themselves to capitalize on them.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into L&T, I want to leave our listener with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, go ahead. What's got you thinking?
We've talked about L&T's ventures into AI and cloud computing, but what if they take it a step further? What if they leverage these technologies to not only optimize their own operations, but to transform the entire construction and infrastructure industry?
That's a fascinating idea. Imagine a world where buildings are designed and constructed using AI-powered tools, where projects are managed with real-time data, and where sustainability is baked into every decision.
Yeah.
L&T could be at the forefront of that revolution.
It sounds almost futuristic, but with companies like L&T leading the charge, it might not be as far-fetched as we think. The possibilities are really exciting.
That's what I love about these deep dives. They don't just provide information. They spark our imaginations and make us wonder what's possible. They challenge us to think differently about the world and the companies that are shaping it.
So to our listener, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the world of knowledge. Until next time, happy learning.
Happy learning. It's fascinating to see how they're really positioning themselves for the future with this E2E Networks acquisition. It's not just about like adding another company to their portfolio. It's about anticipating those evolving needs of the industry.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we often think of construction and infrastructures as very physical things, but increasingly the digital world is becoming just as important.
Exactly. Exactly. Imagine a future where buildings are designed with the help of AI, where construction projects are managed in real time using cloud-based platforms, and where data analytics helps optimize everything from energy efficiency to safety.
Yeah, it's almost like they're building a bridge between the physical and digital worlds.
That's the perfect analogy. And what's particularly interesting is how this aligns with the broader trends we're seeing in India. The country is rapidly developing its technological capabilities, and L&T's moves suggest that they're not just keeping pace, they're actively shaping the future of Indian innovation.
What so L&T's story is not just about one company's success. It's a window into the larger transformation that's happening within the Indian economy.
Absolutely. And this transformation raises some really interesting questions. For example, how will this shift towards digital technologies impact employment in India? Will it create new jobs, or will it displace existing ones?
That's a crucial question, and it's not just about jobs, it's about the kind of skills that will be needed in the future. Are India's education and training systems equipped to prepare the workforce for this digital revolution?
These are complex issues with no easy answers.
Mm.
But by understanding companies like L&T and the choices that they're making, we can start to get a glimpse of what the future might hold.
Okay, all right. Let's bring it back down to earth for a moment and talk about the nitty-gritty financials. We've already touched on some key figures, but are there any specific numbers that really stand out to you?
I think it's worth highlighting the breakdown of L&T's revenue by segment. It gives us a clearer picture of where their strengths lie
Hmm.
and where they're seeing the most growth.
Yeah, you're right. Let's take a closer look at that. According to their financial statements, their infrastructure segment accounted for the largest share of revenue, bringing in 28,000 crore for the quarter.
Right, a significant chunk of their business.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, given India's ongoing infrastructure development needs. They're investing heavily in roads, bridges, ports, all that essential infrastructure. And L&T is a major player in this space.
But but they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, right? Their energy project segment also performed really well this quarter, generating 15,000 crore in revenue. That's almost a 20% increase from the same period last year.
Yeah, and this growth is largely driven by their hydrocarbon business,
Mm-hmm.
which secured that massive order that we mentioned earlier. It's a reminder that despite the global push towards renewable energy, traditional energy sources still play a significant role in many economies.
And even their high-tech manufacturing segment, which is relatively smaller than the other two, um, saw respectable growth, bringing in 8,000 crore in revenue.
Yet this segment is particularly interesting because it represents their foray into more specialized and technologically advanced areas. Their precision engineering capabilities, for example, are in high demand globally.
So each of their segments is performing well in its own right, contributing to L&T's overall success. It's a testament to their diversified business model.
It is, and this diversification makes them more resilient. It also positions them to capture growth opportunities across different sectors.
Okay.
They're not limited by a single market or a single industry.
All right, before we move on, I just want to quickly recap what we've covered so far. We've talked about L&T's record-breaking order inflow, the strength of their international business, their strategic investments in new technologies, and the positive outlook shared by their chairman.
We've also dug into their financial performance, uh, analyzing their revenue and profit growth, their EBITDA margin, and those independent audits that kind of confirm the accuracy of their reporting.
Hmm.
We even broke down their revenue by segment to get a clearer picture of their business mix.
Hmm.
And we've explored the broader implications of their success, discussing how it reflects India's growing economic power and its ambitions on the global stage. We've even touched on the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead as India kind of embraces the digital revolution.
Right.
So I think our listener now has a pretty solid understanding of L&T's current state
Yeah.
and their future prospects.
Yeah.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle that we need to address.
Sure.
We've focused a lot on the quantitative aspects of their business. The numbers and figures that tell the story of their financial performance. But there's also a qualitative side to their success that's just as important.
Yeah, we need to talk about their corporate culture, their leadership and their values. I mean, these intangible factors play a huge role in shaping a company's destiny.
Right. So let's start with their leadership. SN Subramanian, the chairman, he seems to have a very clear vision for the future of L&T.
Hmm.
What can you tell us about his leadership style? and how it's kind of influenced the company's direction.
Well, he's known for his strategic thinking, his focus on innovation, and his commitment to excellence. He's been instrumental in driving L&T's expansion into new markets
Yeah.
and new technologies, always pushing the company to stay ahead of the curve.
And it's not just about, being innovative, it's about doing things the right way.
Yeah.
He's emphasized the importance of ethical conduct,
Mm.
sustainability,
Mm.
and corporate social responsibility.
Right. L&T has a strong reputation for their ethical practices
Mhm.
and their commitment to environmental and social causes. They've implemented various initiatives to reduce their carbon footprint, to
Mhm.
promote diversity and inclusion, and to give back to the communities where they operate.
It's clear that their values are not just, words on paper. They're embedded in their operations and decision-making processes. This creates a culture of trust and accountability,
Yeah.
which is essential for any successful company.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this culture extends beyond their internal operations. They're known for their strong relationships with their clients, partners, and suppliers. They believe in collaboration and mutual benefit, creating a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Yeah, and this focus on building strong relationships is probably one of the reasons why they have such a loyal customer base and why they're able to secure so many repeat orders.
It's all interconnected. Their strong leadership, their ethical values, their commitment to sustainability, and their focus on building relationships. All of that contributes to their overall success. These qualitative factors are just as important as the quantitative ones.
Okay, so we've covered the numbers, we've explored the trends, and we've even talked about the human side of L&T. I think our listener now has a comprehensive view of this fascinating company.
I think so too. But our exploration isn't over yet. Let's zoom out even further and consider the global context. What does L&T's success tell us about the shifting dynamics of the global economy?
That's a great question. I mean, we live in a world where economic power is increasingly dispersed. Emerging markets are playing a larger role, and companies from these markets are challenging the traditional dominance of Western corporations.
And L&T is a perfect example of this shift. They're a company from an emerging market that's competing and winning on a global scale.
Yeah.
They're not just participating in the global economy. They're actively shaping it.
Yeah, it's almost like they're a microcosm of this rising global south.
Yeah.
They're demonstrating that innovation and expertise aren't limited to any one region or any one type of company.
Right, and they're challenging those traditional assumptions about where the centers of economic power lie. We're seeing a multipolar world emerge,
Yeah.
where companies from diverse backgrounds and geographies are driving global growth and innovation.
Which begs the question, what does this mean for the established players in developed markets? Are they going to adapt and compete, or are they going to be kind of left behind?
That's the billion-dollar question. Some companies are recognizing the shift and are actively seeking to partner with or even acquire companies like L&T to tap into their expertise and market knowledge.
Yeah.
Others are doubling down on their existing strategies, hoping to weather the storm. Only time will tell who will succeed in this new landscape.
Yeah, it's a fascinating time to be watching the global economy unfold. But let's bring our focus back to L&T. We've talked about their successes, their strategies, their ambitions. But are there any potential risks or challenges that they need to be aware of?
Well, every company, no matter how successful, faces challenges. For L&T, one potential risk is geopolitical instability. They operate in many different countries, some of which are politically volatile. Sudden changes in government policies or regional conflicts could disrupt their operations.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. They've managed to navigate these complexities so far, but it's definitely something they need to keep a close eye on.
Another challenge is talent acquisition and retention. As they expand into more specialized areas like AI and cloud computing, they'll need to attract and retain top talent in those fields. This is a highly competitive market, and they'll need to offer attractive compensation and benefits packages to compete.
And it's not just about attracting talent, it's about nurturing that talent and creating a work environment where people feel valued and challenged.
Oh, absolutely. They need to invest in training and development programs to keep their workforce up to date with the latest technologies and industry trends. They also need to create a culture that fosters innovation, collaboration, and continuous learning.
So it's a balancing act. They need to manage geopolitical risks, attract and retain top talent, and continuously adapt to this rapidly evolving technological landscape. It's a tall order, but L&T seems to have the leadership, the resources, and the vision to navigate these challenges.
They do, and they have a track record of success to draw on. They've overcome obstacles in the past, and they've emerged stronger each time. This gives them a certain resilience, a confidence that they can face whatever the future holds.
Okay, and as we wrap up our deep dive into L&T, I want to leave our listener with one final thought. We've analyzed their financial statements, we've dissected their strategic moves, and we've explored the broader implications of their success. But at its core, L&T's story is about much more than just numbers and trends.
It's a story about human ingenuity,
Yeah.
about the power of innovation,
Yeah.
and about the aspirations of a nation to make its mark on the world stage.
It's a story that's still being written, and we can't wait to see what the next chapter holds. So to our listener, we encourage you to keep following L&T's journey, to keep questioning, to keep exploring, and to keep diving deep into the world of knowledge.
And remember, the most valuable insights often come from connecting the dots, from seeing the bigger picture,
Hmm.
and from understanding the human stories behind the data.
Happy learning.
Happy learning.